Some stories start with one big moment, others begin with something much quieter. I heard this one on a late flight to Chicago. The woman sitting by the window said something that stayed with me. Sometimes the strongest person in the family is the one who was never allowed to need help. And this is the story she told me. My sister needed help, but it was always from me. There's a moment in childhood when you realize that a room can only hold one emergency at a time. I was 7. Emily was 9. She couldn't find her purple sweater before school, the one with the tiny stitched flowers on the sleeves. She was crying like something permanent had been taken from her. My mom was opening drawers too fast. My dad was checking the dryer like the sweater might magically appear inside it. The house felt urgent, loud, important. I was standing near the door with my backpack already on. No one had packed my lunch. I remember noticing that detail in a strangely calm way. Not angry, not hurt, just aware. And I remember thinking very clearly, don't add to this, so I didn't. I didn't mention the lunch. I didn't mention that I had a spelling test I was nervous about. I didn't mention that I couldn't find my library book. I just opened the door and left when it was time. I went to school hungry that day, not because my parents didn't care, but because I understood something before I had language for it. Emily needed more space, so I learned to take up less. Behind closed doors, that decision became identity. There was another afternoon I think about it sometimes. I had fallen off my bike 2 streets from our house. My knee was scraped badly. It stung so sharply I felt dizzy walking home. I pushed the bike with one hand and tried not to cry. Soon, when I walked into the kitchen, Emily was already crying. Her best friend had told her she wasn't invited to a birthday sleepover. My mom was sitting beside her at the table, stroking her hair. I stood in the doorway with blood running down my shin. My mom looked up briefly. "Oh, honey, grab a bandage from the cabinet, okay?" She wasn't dismissive. She wasn't cruel. She was triaging. And I was not the loudest wound in the room. That's how roles form. Not through favoritism, through volume. Emily's emotions filled space. Mine folded themselves smaller. You've always been so independent. You don't need much. You're strong. That word followed me into adulthood, like a medal I didn't realize was heavy. Strong doesn't get rescue plans. Strong becomes the rescue plan. When I moved to Chicago at 22, I had a mattress on the floor and a used coffee table I found online for $20. I worked full-time during the week and picked up freelance projects at night. I built my life carefully. Rent paid on time. Bills tracked. Savings growing slowly. It wasn't glamorous, but it was stable. Emily moved out a year later. Her first apartment was charming and slightly outside her budget. I helped her carry boxes up 3 flights of stairs. I helped her set up utilities. I explained renters' insurance and autopay and credit scores. The first time she called about money, it felt temporary. "Hey, are you busy?" There was always that pause. "My car needs repairs and I don't get paid until next week." Of course. Then it was a security deposit when she changed apartments. Then it was a gap between jobs. Each time I transferred money almost automatically. Because that's what you do when you're the strong one. You stabilize. The first time she stayed with me, just for a few weeks, I was 27. She had left a job that she described as toxic. She arrived with 2 suitcases and relief in her voice. At first, it felt almost sweet. We cooked together. We watched old movies. We talked late into the night like we used to when we were teenagers. But slowly the edges showed. She slept until 10 while I left for work at 7. She said she was applying for jobs, but I'd come home to the TV still on and her scrolling her phone. She left dishes in the sink. "I'll get to it," she'd say. One night, after a 14-hour workday, I opened the fridge and realized most of the groceries I'd bought 2 days earlier were gone. "I didn't think you'd mind," she said lightly. And I didn't. Not out loud, but something inside me tightened. Small things started to pile up. Laundry left in the dryer. Phone calls at midnight while I was trying to sleep. Comments like, "You're just better at adulting than I am." She said it as admiration, but it landed like surrender. Behind closed doors, I started noticing how often I was adjusting my schedule, adjusting my tone, adjusting my expectations. One night I mentioned I had a performance review coming up at work, and I was nervous. She nodded but didn't ask questions. Later that night, she came into my room crying because someone she'd been seeing hadn't texted her back. I sat on the edge of my own bed and comforted her. I don't remember anyone sitting on the edge of my bed when I was anxious. After 4 months, she moved out again. Temporary had stretched again. I told myself it was fine. That's what love looks like. But resentment doesn't explode, it accumulates. Years later, when I was 34, I finally had a 6-month emergency fund saved. It felt like oxygen. Then my landlord informed me the building was being sold and my rent would increase significantly at renewal. I panicked quietly. I could manage it. Barely, but it would shrink my cushion. 2 days later, my phone rang. "Hey, are you busy?" My body reacted before my mind did. "I left the job," she said. "Left. Not laid off. Left. It just wasn't sustainable for me. And then I might need a place to land for a bit." A place to land? I stared around my apartment. The clean counters, the quiet, the life I had built brick by brick. Behind closed doors, this was the only place I didn't have to manage anyone else's emotional climate. "I need to think about it," I said. She sounded surprised. "You've never needed to think before." That sentence stayed with me, because she was right. I hadn't. That night I opened my banking app. I looked at my savings. I calculated my new rent. I opened Venmo. I typed in an amount. My thumb hovered over send. I imagined her relief. I imagined my parents praising me for stepping up. I imagined myself shrinking again. My thumb trembled. Then I deleted the amount, closed the app, and cried. Not because I didn't love her, but because I realized I was afraid. Afraid of what would happen if I stopped being the solution. Therapy had started around that time. "I feel like if I don't step in, everything collapses," I told my therapist. "Everything?" she asked gently. "My family balance, my relationship with her." "And what if the balance exists because you overfunction?" I hated that word. Overfunction. "I'm just responsible," I said. "Responsible for what?" she asked. "For making sure things don't fall apart." She leaned forward slightly. "What if falling apart is sometimes necessary?" I stared at the carpet. The idea felt dangerous. Because if Emily fell apart and I didn't catch her, I might be blamed. Or worse, I might discover she could stand without me. Sunday dinner felt inevitable. The dining room looked the same as always. Warm lighting, familiar chairs, roast chicken. Halfway through dessert, my mom said it. You have that extra bedroom now, right? There it was. Not a demand, just assumption. It would only be temporary, my dad added. Temporary had history. Emily looked small. I don't want to be a burden, she said softly. That word landed carefully. Burden. My chest tightened. Behind closed doors, I felt the old script sliding toward me. Say yes. Keep peace. Be strong. I can't, I said. The silence was immediate. What do you mean? My mom asked. I mean, I can't have her move in? Emily looked up slowly. But I don't have anywhere else. My heart pounded. You have options, I said carefully. They might not be comfortable, but you have them. You're doing fine, my dad said. You're stable? Yes, I replied, because I protect my stability. The room shifted. I've helped with rent, deposits, bills, letting you stay with me before. I never complained, but it's been constant. Emily's eyes filled. I never forced you. You didn't have to, I said. My mom looked shaken. We thought you were okay. I was okay, I said quietly. I'm just not infinite. So you're choosing yourself, Emily said. Yes, I answered. For the first time. My hands were shaking under the table. Emily laughed eerily. No one chased her. For 3 weeks she didn't call. I expected disaster. Instead, nothing happened. Then a text. I found a contract position. No collapse, no emergency, just information. A month later, she called again. I need help. My chest tightened instinctively. Help negotiating my rate. Not housing, not money, strategy. We talked it through. She implemented it herself. She didn't crumble. Sunday dinners feel different now. My mom asks before assuming. My dad checks in about my workload. Emily pauses before asking. And when she does ask, I ask back, what have you tried? Not to challenge, to empower. Behind closed doors, love used to mean absorbing. Now it means allowing. Allowing discomfort. Allowing growth. Allowing someone to learn how to land. I thought saying no would fracture everything. Instead, it redistributed weight. I'm still strong. But now I'm allowed to be human. And she's still sensitive. But now she's learning to stand. Behind closed doors, that's what real balance looks like. Some doors close quietly, some never really do. If this story felt close to home, there's another one waiting for you here. This is Behind Closed Doors. Stay.